We've seen what people do when a woman is abused by a man.
Stop. Sit there. Stop. Sit there.
You look like a psychotic person.
But we wondered, what would happen if we reversed the sexes? What if the victim were a man and the abuser a woman?
Huh? You want to start with me?
This time, she plays the aggressor, verbally and physically abusing her boyfriend.
How's that? How's that?
Women abusing, even assaulting their male partners. Not as isolated as you might think.
What the situation was, if before you founded the shelter, if you were a man being battered by your wife or girlfriend, where could you go? What situation were you in?
Well, you could do the same as I and many other men have done. You can spend the days and nights in your car with very little money in your pocket, or you can humiliate yourself by turning to friends or relatives and begging for a place to stay and food in your stomach if you want to. Other than that, there's virtually no place to turn to. And fortunately, I've heard some comments from some ladies in your audience that have brought that to light, whose thinking is exactly the same as mine. I am not known as a men's rights activist by those that know me and know what we do. I'm known as a man that demands nothing more than equality and the same continuum of treatment for every victim of domestic abuse. I don't care if it's a man or a woman, lesbian or gay, Catholic, Protestant, Buddhist, or whatever they are. Every person that is a victim deserves the same type of treatment and compassion.
That's right.
And I think, too, that any act of abuse or assault ought to be treated equally. And as you've heard from some other people, this is not the case at all.
It is a big problem in this country. Men create more damage, but women hit more than men do.
Every year, there are more than 800,000 serious cases of women abusing men.
Again, nothing.
But confronted with this, what will people do when hidden cameras are rolling and our actress is out of control?
No.
One after another, people pass by and keep right on going. What will this woman do? At first, she seems to ignore the fight, but pauses a few paces down the path to watch. She tells us she didn't think this woman could pose any real physical threat.
There didn't look like any harm was being done. I didn't immediately think to protect the man at all.
But now we're about to meet a woman whose reaction is instant, visceral. Watch closely.
No, get up. No.
Why don't you calm down?
What went through her mind?
Good for her.
I have a statement. I'm not condoning this at all. But I have to be sympathetic to the women because women have been battered for centuries, and also murdered.
Who gets battered?
Again, I'm not condoning it. I'm really not. I'm just saying that me as a woman, I have to be a little bit more sympathetic to my...
What difference does it make who gets battered or slapped, whether it's a male or a female? It is a serious
thing. The relationship.
I think it's important to put things into some kind of perspective. Domestic violence is about power and control. It's about a relationship where there's a whole pattern about trying to maintain power and control, very much like racism in our country. You know, those of us who are white are born into a kind of privilege just by the color of our skin, and we think that gives us a right to power. And men who batter women are born into this country thinking because they're born male, they have a right to have power over, to be the king of the castle.
I think I asked you
we're talking about
from the audience, please.
About power and control.
I just think it's terrible.
Charlotte, I believe I asked you about 3 years ago, where do you come off by saying that domestic violence is man's desire to control a woman, and yet 3 years ago I asked you, how do you account for domestic violence then in gay and lesbian relationships, and you dodged that question, and every other advocate has been dodging it ever since.
I don't think anyone's saying that men are the problem in perpetuating these stereotypes. They can affect men as well. I think society as a whole is creating this problem.
Look, Radhika, with all due respect, you believe that air conditioning is sexist, so I'm not surprised that you think there is some huge conspiracy against 6-year-old girls. There isn't. All of the empirical data shows that girls are outperforming boys in every academic domain. Young female graduates dominate universities. Women in the workplace are out-earning their young male counterparts. I am sorry, but if there is a patriarchy, it's absolutely rubbish and ineffective.
And I say to myself one day, wait a minute, if men earn $1 for each 76 cents that women earn for the same work, why would anybody hire a man to do anything? And I couldn't answer the question. And then I thought, well, wait a minute.
It's a great question, actually.
Sort of like, I stumbled myself. But then I thought to myself, now, wait a minute. Maybe these male bosses are so discriminating against women that they don't value women enough, and they don't even see the importance of what women are producing. So I looked at the statistics about women who own their own business. They have no bosses to devalue them. And women who own their own businesses only earn 49% of what men who own their own businesses earn.
They earn less.
They earn less. So in other words, having a boss is an advantage for a woman. So then I started to say, well, maybe there's a difference in goals between men and women. And sure enough, then I began to get on the right track. When you ask women who own their own businesses what their primary motivation is, way down the list is money. Only 29% say money is their primary motivation. Men, 76% say money is their primary motivation. So I began to see that when women own their own businesses and when women do work, they're balancing their chores with the family with their chores in the workplace. The women who own their own businesses say, I want to be home, I want to be my own boss, I want to have flexibility with the family. And men who own their own businesses say, if I have children, then I want to be earning more money. If I don't have children, I want to be home. So that gave me another thought. I said, well, wait a minute, maybe I should look at the difference between people who have children and people who don't. So I looked at never married women who have never had children and compared them to never married men who had never had children, and found out that never married women who never had children earn 117% of what never married men who never have children earn. In other words, when you take the children, the motivation for men to earn money out of the picture, men earn less in the workplace than women do.
And children are also the motivation for women to stay home.
Exactly. So you have, and so when you have never married women who have never had children, you find those women are making decisions a lot more like men. Never married men who have never had children, they're making decisions a lot more like women. So it's the decisions we make in the workplace that lead to the incomes we get from the workplace.
They're making decisions, women who have never had children are making decisions more like men, but they're making more. Why is that? Why are they making 116% of what men make?
It appears that there's a number of things happening. One is that, let's say you're an engineer.
And do we need legislation to address this?
To correct that?
Yes.
Well, we may need legislation to help men earn equal to women when they're making the same decisions. I mean, that's a possibility. The Paycheck Fairness Act may end up helping many men. I mean, there's many men that are, so for example, you asked the question about why would a woman be earning more?
Yes.
So let's say you have in engineers, almost all female engineers earn more at the beginning than males do at the beginning of their career. If you're an engineering firm and you have mostly males, and a woman comes to apply for you, the chances are fairly good that a lot of engineering firms are competing for her. So and if you're sued for gender discrimination, you're going to be a lot better off having a fair number of women that you've hired than you are if you have no women that you've hired. And so both affirmative action and protection against lawsuits leads many companies to giving a special advantage to women and therefore paying them more at the beginning.
So it's an artificial boost.
It's an artificial boost, exactly.
If feminism is a movement for equality, why do we not see equal representation of both genders' issues? And why do we not see feminists complaining about benefits that women have over men in certain situations? I bet very few people watching this video right now know that around 100,000 to 140,000 males are raped annually in US prisons. This is more males raped than females in the US annually, yet feminists remain silent on the issue. Almost half the domestic abuse victims in the US and Canada are men. Yet there are no safe houses for them, no court advocacy programs, no subsidized counseling or legal care like women. Despite being half the victims, they are basically ignored. Men make up 80% of suicide victims, 92% of workplace deaths, 97% of combat deaths, and 77% of homicide victims. Men are objectified, men are raped, men are mistreated. Men are held to ridiculously high societal standards, just like women.
So men and women want different things from work, is the bottom line.
Yes, exactly. And well, they want different things. Actually, we all want the same thing from work and from life. We all want fulfillment. We want fulfilling jobs. We want meaning. We want a sense of balance. We want to be connected with people and family. But when men and women have children, they start dividing labor and getting those things for their family differently. So when they have children, the women say, okay, I have to be more at home and I have to do a balancing act. You know, we used to say in political campaigns, is the economy stupid? Well, if you were to summarize why men earn more in one little sentence, it's the family stupid.
As a woman, I will almost always win custody of children in a divorce case. I will receive less than half the sentence a man does for the exact same crime, and actually have my rape and assault accusations taken seriously, and I won't be laughed at for not being manly enough. With one quick Google search, I can find a safe house in my area if I have been in an abusive relationship. As a woman, I am more likely to get a government or military job, despite qualifications, just to fill a quota due to affirmative action. And I am also more likely to get into a university because of my gender.
And if you had somebody like me, if somebody said, Warren Farrell's been working in gender issues for 30 years, therefore you must pay him as much as Gloria Steinem, well, the effect would be that nobody would hire Warren Farrell because nobody cares about Warren Farrell speaking versus Gloria Steinem. So you have to look at the degree to which people want something. A garbage collector, we're going to pay a garbage collector more than somebody who's working at Walmart's selling clothing because we need our garbage picked up more than we need somebody to sell us clothing at Walmart's. And so the supply and demand leads to different outcomes that comparable worth and equal pay being forced upon people does not account for.
Statistical disparities don't necessarily mean that there is discrimination at play. There are elemental differences between the genders, and women and men like to make different choices as a whole. Not all, some, but you cannot say that there is discrimination at play. Look at women in other sciences, and such as biology and veterinary science. They dominate these areas. They also dominate medicine.
So this is why I'm not a feminist. I'm not a feminist because I believe that both genders should be treated equally and both their issues should be addressed. I'm not a feminist because I believe I should prove that I'm worthy of a job rather than having it given to me to fill a quota. I'm not a feminist because feminists are unintentionally creating a world of reverse sexism that I don't want to be a part of. So I will stick to promoting equality and justice rather than a faux form of equality under the label of a gender-biased word, feminism.
The point is that women feel, because of the cultural inhibitors that have been placed on women, some sort of woman leadership is needed to compensate and to break those barriers and to make good all the grievances of the past.
You can do it only by education. If women feel that there is prejudice against them, yes, you do it by spreading the right idea that women intellectually are not the inferior of men.
Of course not, but
physically they certainly are.
That's what feminists are doing. They're standing up and educating.
No, they're asking for government power and government handouts. They go around depriving men of jobs because you have to have quota of so many women.
But their point is that they have been denied jobs all these years. So let's get at it and start swinging for it.
You do not fight an evil if they think they're victims. I don't. But let us say, assuming that women have been treated unfairly, you don't fight an evil by adopting it and practicing it.
Well, what should they do? Be nice little girls and not say anything and stay home and break bread?
No.
Well, what should they do?
Go into any career of their choice except longshoremen or professional football player, as they're trying today, and fight for their career as every man has to fight.
Would you fight for anything?
How did I get here?